Where? So I pulled one of the ROMs out. I saw it had the pin under it.
It must have been hard for Steve Jobs to imagine his impact on the technology world during this early 1980s TV appearance.
Look at that. Look, I'm on television.
Hey!
Hey!
But the man behind the iPad and the iPhone did more than just shape current technology before his death on October 5, 2011. His company helped shape the way we learn.
Apple provides all of the technology that they need to take their classes while they're on the go.
At the University of South Florida, the presence of Apple products is everywhere. From issuing MacBooks to athletes to keep up with their studies.
We've created what we've called the anytime, anywhere learning environment. So our students can have connectivity to the internet, whether they're in a bus, whether they're in an airport, whether they're in a hotel room. I mean, they could really have it in a 2-hour rain delay game in baseball if they needed to.
To upcoming pharmacists using iPads as part of their curriculum.
Using an iPod or an iPad or an iPhone and putting it in their hands right now, incorporating their expectation of what the future will be and what they anticipate will be their professional responsibility.
I can't even escape it. I'm using Final Cut Pro and an iMac to edit this video together. But Apple's USF presence is more than just teaching its students. Downloads from USF iTunes U page recently passed 20 million downloads, a benchmark that ties the university with the likes of Yale and MIT.
The College of Education, through Lit2Go and iTunes U, has been helping the world learn how to read.
It's this global outreach that USF hopes will propel it to the forefront of innovation, from academics to healthcare.
This has to be a point in time in healthcare where we take the lead, where we are bold, where we are a little crazy, where we make a few mistakes in our technology, where there are a few of us that are Steve Jobsian saying, you know, gosh, have you thought about this? And you know, it's different than anything you thought about, but in 10 years, it'll be what we do.
It may be crazy, but Steve Jobs already showed how the unthinkable can be reality. For USF News, I'm Amy Mariani.
It works like magic. You don't need a stylus.
The Republican candidates' debate at the University of South Florida Monday night was more than a political sparring of GOP presidential hopefuls. It was an exercise in free speech.
I think it's great. It brings back like the kind of the 1960s atmosphere, politics and college, and mixing them.
Demonstrators surrounded the theater on campus to express their views, from support to frustration. On stage, the candidates spoke their minds.
And there is no difference between President Obama and these two gentlemen, and that's why this election here in Florida is so critical.
So I say if you're conservative, you want small government across the board, especially in personal liberty. What's wrong with having the government out of our personal lives?
Proud of the fact, and I'll say this in Florida, I'm proud of the fact that I publicly, openly advocated Medicare Part D. It has saved lives. It's run on a free enterprise model. It also includes health savings accounts.
What I will do if I'm president, I will repeal Obamacare and return to the states the authority and the rights the states have to craft their own programs to care for their own poor.
And back in the media room, political pundits and experts realize the importance of tapping into the energy of the university.
Coming here, having the candidates be here, opens up that door, that window for students to look at them objectively.
Well, I think always engaging young people into the process of government is important, and college campuses are great for that.
Yet the true test of opinion comes next week, when the first closed primary of the season happens and Florida's collective Republican voice speaks its mind. And it's still a toss-up.
Well, I mean, I think about 10 days ago, everybody was assuming it was Mitt Romney was going to roll through here, and I think it's very much of a jump ball, I think.
Well, I think even though it is a closed primary state, I still think it's a lot more centrist and moderate than South Carolina, regardless of the rules being different.
Even NBC's Brian Williams exercised his First Amendment right.
I want to thank all of our candidates and our hosts, of course, here at the University of South Florida. We are obligated at this point to say, go Bulls. For
USF News, I'm Amy Mariani.
For our viewers here on your NBC station, our coverage will continue. I'll be back with you shortly.
There? Yep. 2 meters even.
A few marine biology undergraduate students attended a very interesting lab early one morning. Instead of meeting in the same lab room as they had in previous weeks, they boarded the RV Eugenie Clark and set sail. These 4 undergrads joined researchers from the University of South Florida and Mote Marine Lab to go fishing for sharks. Students of biology professor Dr. Philip Moto participated hands-on in a research mission alongside scientists from Mote and a PhD student. The sharks were tagged, measured for size, and blood drawn for multiple research projects, including how the Deepwater Horizon oil spill affected these animals. Most were released while some were euthanized to gather tissue samples.
Sometimes we take a few tissue samples so they look at pollutants and so on in their tissues. Genetic work is being done where sometimes they draw blood for genetic analysis, again, so they can look at stocks. Stock assessment and conservation of sharks are very important.
Director of the Center for Shark Research at Mote, Dr. Bob Huter, joined the crew to co-teach and harvest samples. He says the partnership between Mote and USF is not only important for education, but for research as well.
Both partners bring different things to the table, and that makes the partnership very strong and very valuable especially to the students who get to benefit from this.
For Savannah Lobmeyer, this gave her the chance to do something she's never done before.
Well, I've been fishing, but never actually, tried to catch lots of sharks, so it's kind of a first-time experience.
9 sharks on her first trip out. I'd say that's pretty good odds. For USF News, I'm Amy Mariani.
That's just, anybody else need to see anything?
Click, tweet, send. As virtual communication becomes commonplace, hashtags and keywords are finding a new home in a different kind of information realm, the political campaign.
Social media can impact out the election because most people use Facebook, Twitter.
Politicians realize spreading their message electronically will reach all types of listeners.
It's not just young people who are using social media, but older people as well.
Kelly Burns is a mass communications professor and an expert of social media at the University of South Florida. She says a candidate cannot expect to win an election without developing a virtual connection with their constituents.
So all candidates do need to be involved in social media. It's not something that you can avoid these days. It may not win the campaign for you, but it's definitely a place that you need to be today.
Though Burns says it's important for a politician to have a social media presence, some potential voters say it's hard to trust what they read in their timeline.
I'm a little wary because if it's a politician's blog or Twitter or Facebook, they're just going to post their opinion and always try and frame things in the best possible light for them.
It may be that people are looking for a connection and not information. The Pew Research Center discovered 22% of online Americans used social media for politics during the 2010 midterm elections. Yet 47% of these Americans said that they didn't follow for information, but rather to feel more personally connected to the candidate.
Whether you use television, whether you use the newspaper, whether you use social media, they're all tools that you have at your disposal to use to communicate with your voters.
And with all tools, there's a right way to use it and a wrong way to use it. For USF News, I'm Amy Mariani.